I'm speaking. Hello. We're in Damascus, Syria. I'm Mark Taliano, and I am speaking with a Syrian citizen who is an important scientist, and she has lived and worked in France as well. And would you like to introduce yourself, your background?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I thank you for inviting me. And I'm Aysar Midani. I'm chairman of the Network of Syrian Scientists and Innovators in Technology Abroad. I'm expatriate in France for 50 years and came back to Syria during the war from the first days in 2011 just to see the truth and just to understand about all these media and about all these fake news and about this war, in fact. I think we will talk about that now.
So we know that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Oh, thank you. We know that. So you have lived in Syria for some time, haven't you? You grew up in Syria.
I lived in Syria and I had my bachelor degree in Syria. My BSc it was in physics and chemistry,
Yep.
and then I went to France for PhD in chemistry and worked in chemistry 10 years and then went back to the university just to study information systems and information science.
And that was one of the things that surprised me when I first came to Syria, is how well educated the people were and how well educated they are. And part of that is due to the fact that education is free. In other words, there's an equality there. If you don't have money, you can still get educated, unlike in some countries like Canada, where higher education costs a lot of money and it's unaffordable for many people. We know.
May I add something
yes,
on
please
that?
do.
Also, there is no discrimination between girls and guys for any kind of studies. I discovered when I went to France just to continue my studies, I was really surprised that all the engineering schools were shut in the front of girls.
Right.
And no girls could go to engineering school in France.
Very interesting.
And I made my PhD in chemistry, but in the chemistry of petroleum. And also I asked for to go to the National Institute of Petroleum just to continue to make a specialization in refining or the industrialization of petroleum. And they told me, we do not accept women in our school unless they are sent by their own governments. This means unless they cannot refuse. So that was the shock of my life, you know. And so I can say in Syria, women and men can go to any education institute they want, and afterwards when we work also, women and men has the same salary for the same responsibilities.
That's very interesting.
And this is a very important point.
Yeah.
And I think that we are much more developed than some countries supposedly
Very much
developed,
so.
and they want to teach us how to behave our women and how to behave toward our people.
Well, that's what they say.
Pretending, teaching us democracy and equality and equity.
When actually they're just teaching takfiri terrorism and backwardness
Yes.
and the reverse of civilization. We talked about that yesterday too. So education, we have equal access to education here, and we touched on war propaganda and how that and I think there's a relationship between education and being able to critically assess war propaganda. And it seems to me that in North America, we are desperately in need of de-education because the people have been educated to accept without any critical analysis what the television and the government tells them. And the television and government tells people in Canada and North America that we are fighting terrorism, but everyone here knows that we support the terrorists. That's what one would think, that a educated society, that critical thinking society would understand that, but broadly speaking, Canadians do not understand that. And next we're going to talk about weapons of mass destruction. Everyone knows now that the weapons in mass destruction was a fake pretext to invade and destroy Iraq. We all know that it was a fake pretext to invade and destroy Libya. Now, for the last 8 years or so, Western media and Western politicians have been talking about chemical weapons. Could you talk to us about chemical weapons?
Yes, and I think I can talk about all the lies and the media lies from the beginning on this war, because in 2011, as I told you yesterday,
Yep.
I was trying to come to Damascus 1 month every 2 months just to see what's the truth about all these things, and I found that there was a very big gap between the reality and what is told in the Western media, the mainstream media.
Yeah, you talked about giving kids their
Captagon
and money to protest in the
and
street.
this is a mass destruction also.
They're mass destroying Syria.
That has been used against Syria. The
Bingo.
Captagon,
Yes.
the Captagon, and the money. Just giving people money and Captagon just to tell them to do things and
Yes.
to make a lot of crimes.
to create Walt Disney stories
Exactly.
that are totally detached from reality. What about these chemical weapons?
Yeah, and well, in 2013, the Syrian army liberated Khan al-Assal, which was a village of the surrounding of Aleppo, a big village, Khan al-Assal, and the Syrian army has been really very well received by the population. There were a lot of demonstration of happiness just to celebrate this entry of the Syrian army. The second day, the day after, there were an attack by the terrorists, and a lot of people died. And then they said it is a chemical attack of Assad against the Khan al-Assal, because they were against him, and they transformed.
So they're inverting reality.
Inverting reality, and that was all the time. I can tell you, all the demonstration to support Assad and to support our country, and to protest against interventions and against ingerence, in fact, interference in Syrian policy. They were diffused on the channels, the
Yep.
TV, the Occidental TV channels, with a filter transforming the colors of the flag, which has been supported by the people. So a lot of things like this, and for that, Syria immediately in March 2013 asked for a commission asked the UN for an investigation commission come here to come to Khan al-Assal and to investigate.
Stop.